Yeah, I got issues. Well, I may act up finally. I don't know yet. It's showing fault. We ain't died yet. This thing's just not wanting to cooperate today. Yeah, got a 09 F150 here, and I checked it some the other day, and I kind of wanted to go over the whole thing again today while I could film it and show you what I found with it, how I went about testing this thing, but it's not cooperating. It says two codes. One code pretty early when it starts acting up, a P025A, and then a P0627, I think's what it was. Let's just go over here and look. Codes, memory. But anyway, the complaint is that it stalls, and then it says these codes, yeah, P0627 and a P025A. The 25A says pretty fast whenever it starts to act up, and then the 627 when it just kind of dies. Sometimes when it stalls, it's hard to get it to crank back, and basically it just dies like it runs out of fuel. And well, because the fuel pump's cutting off. It's just not running the fuel pump. So let me get the scope out and kind of show you what I found the other day. I know it's going to show a little bit of stuff, so hopefully we can get this thing acting up real good again and show you. Okay, so one of the first things I do is, back here is the fuel pump control module. You're not really going to be able to see it in there, but I've got channel 1 and 2 hooked into power and ground. Had to run an extension to get it there, but so right now I've got power and ground, and you see this? This is the fault with the fuel pump. My power is good. I never drop really below 12 volts. My ground doesn't ever rise. This is just dropping due to current. And if we go in to our data, it'll show that it's faulting out. And okay, so looking at our data, we can see our fuel pump monitor is dropping out, and we keep getting this fault status tripping. And if we try to crank it, it might crank and run, it might crank and stall, who knows, but it's acting up right now. That sounds like it's gonna run. Sounds like we got a tensioner about to fall apart too. Ugh. Yeah, not my problem, somebody else's problem. That don't sound very good. But anyways, as you can see with our status on our fuel pump, we've got a fault. Our power and grounds are good. And it's stumbling a little bit, it might die. You see our monitor is down, and now it's up, and now we're showing okay. So it's kind of what we're dealing with. But my power and ground to the fuel pump module is good. So next thing I'd want to check is my control, that P025A code. The 627 makes it think there's a power issue. But if you follow 627, it actually tells you to do 25A first if you have that code also. So I'll show you what I'm talking about in the data tree here. So it's gonna stall. Yep, it's gonna stall, and you can see on our fuel pump monitor and stuff, it went straight to fault. All right, so for our 627 code right here, it says go to pinpoint test KC. This is just going over all the plugs and whatnot. And KC pinpoint test. So KC number 1, check for codes, and there's our 25A. So we have that, so we need to actually do the 25A first. The 627, I just wanted to verify power and ground, because a lot of people know these things have issues with fuse box problems where the fuse doesn't connect good, and you end up low volting the pump back there in the module and stuff. So I wanted to rule out power and ground right away. Good. Done. Okay, ignore the dinging for just a second. So the 25A, or DTC's 25A set, yes, is present. So it wants you to go to KC number 3, which is the FPC circuit. Basically wants you to ohm check it from the PCM to the fuel pump control module with it unplugged. I prefer to scope things, so what I've got is channel 1 is back probed at the PCM, and then channel 2 is back probed at the pump module. So let's got the key on, let this thing turn on, and on the diagram we're talking about this circuit right here. Okay, so you see there is a connector here, and I've already double checked. I've got this late production one, so I'm actually in this connector where it would be pin 2, but I'm back probed here and here. So you just heard the fuel pump do some weird stuff, and as you can see with the scope, the PCM is doing some weird stuff. Yeah, that's not good. On our data here, you can see our pump monitor and our status is changing, and when we've got this fault, it's basically not being pulled all the way to ground. Yeah. This is the garbage that I was seeing the other day. And so back probed at the PCM in the fuel pump, if I had a circuit issue, I would see a difference in these. Like if I had a open in the circuit, or some resistance, I would see some differences in these pulses. But if I take them and separate them, they are perfectly identical to each other. So pretty much rules out an open, because I'm seeing the same signal back there that I am up here. Hope that makes sense to you. And yeah, that's where I'm at with it. Now if you keep going through the flow chart, it wants you to basically unplug some things and check some things. And what I did was I wanted to see which side is providing this 12 volts. So is the PCM providing the 12 volts and triggering it to ground, or is a fuel pump control module supplying it and the ECM is pulling it down? Logic would tell you that's how it should be, is the fuel pump module supplies a ground, or supplies the 12 volts, the engine computer pulls that to ground, and then the pump module sees that pull to ground as the command. Yeah, this is going crazy. So what it wants you to do is basically unplug the ECM and see if that if you have 12 volts. Let me get a pick here to undo this. So basically, if we just unlock this, slide this out, you see we get our 12 volts here at the PCM and on channel 2 here at the fuel pump control module. So that tells me the fuel pump control module supplies the 12 volts. The engine computer is responsible for pulling that to ground. Clearly it's not. So what's the issue? The PCM. The driver isn't strong enough, or it isn't making good enough connection to pull it to ground. Technically, yes, we could have a bad pin at the PCM. So let's check pin fitment. All right, so got my AES Wave terminal lead here, and on the second row here is basically the first one that's got a pin in it, which is this one right here, and it feels tight. It's got good tension, so we do not have a pin fitment issue. And just to compare it to the others, same deal. They all feel exactly the same. So definitely not a terminal fit issue. And yeah, bad PCM again. So plug that back up. I'm sure that fuel pump's probably going crazy on the scope. Nope, it's there. It's fine for right now. So what I've noticed with this is, well, there it goes. When it's trying to do like a smaller duty cycle, basically a low percentage duty cycle, it can actually pull that to ground. But whenever it tries to do a bigger one, it can't really handle it, and we get this. Yeah. So I got it stopped here. As you can see, sometimes it can get pretty close to ground. Let's turn this one off and go back a few waveforms pages. There was some, see, like right here, it was able to pull it all the way to ground here. Over here, no. And you see this voltage drop, that's just that current draw, lowering that. It's still there, so I'm not worried about it. I'm worried about this missing. So my diagnosis the other day was bad PCM, and we're not having any luck finding any relatively fast. So the shop that had me diagnose this for them, because they thought it might have been a wire issue, they said, pull it out and see if you can fix it. So that's what we're going to try to do now. We're going to pull this thing out and try to fix it. But first, I need to know a few things. how much current is that output supposed to have? How much current does it take to pull the fuel pump module to ground? I need to know that because that's what I need to test the PCM with. I need to give it that specific amount of load to know where the issue is.